Morning, everyone who's joined. I'm just going to wait a minute or so while we let everyone in who's in the waiting room. Dave, do you want to let me know when you think we're ready to go?
Yes, of course. We are pretty much all in. There'll still be dribs and drabs joining, I'm sure, but it's up to you whether you give them a minute.
Okay, I think in that case, I will get started and give a very warm welcome to everyone who's joining the Better Hospitality Conference this morning. It is the first Better Hospitality Conference, and I do hope we will do many more in the future. I've wanted to start really with just a good luck to everyone who has opened in the last week. I think everyone has been so excited. You can see that on the streets. You know, it's so lovely to see everyone out and the UK just coming alive again. And you're doing a fabulous job. So really good luck and all the best for your reopenings. And for anyone that hasn't been able to open just yet, really good luck for hopefully later on in May. It's obviously been a really difficult year for many of us, and I think one of the opportunities that has come out of it, looking on the positive side, is that it has given us an opportunity to reset, to think about things differently, and to try and reopen in the best possible way. We've certainly done that with Tried and Supplied. We've spent the year looking at how we can improve for this moment, really. Tried and Supplied is a platform for supply chain management, sourcing, purchasing, and procurement. We focus on supporting businesses across the food supply chain to do things better, to improve their supply chain efficiency, traceability, sustainability, and also to facilitate better reporting and communication across from back of house all the way through to consumer menus. We're now currently launching our new and improved platform, which has been the result of many months of consultation with hospitality professionals and also industry partners, including the Sustainable Restaurant Association and Cafoodle. But beyond just being a platform and the features that are involved, we are also an ecosystem for the food and drink industry and a proactive partner for your business. We really want to see you be successful. And to that end, we've built our site as a place for a connection and collaboration. So it's really fitting for us to be launching together with the Better Hospitality Conference as a place for all of you to connect and learn from each other. You're probably wondering where the idea came from, how it all got started. I attended the Oxford Real Farming Conference in January and left that feeling really enthusiastic, inspired, and energized to do more and to do things in the best possible way. It's a fantastic conference that helps farmers farm better and share knowledge. And I really felt that was something that the hospitality industry could benefit from, having a similar version for themselves. The first conversations that we had around the Better Hospitality Conference was in early February. And then we actually only agreed a date on the 1st of March. So everything has come together extraordinarily fast. And that is a real testament to everyone involved. It seems almost a little bit like a dream, kind of standing here or sitting here, I suppose, and talking to you all. So thank you for everyone for being involved. I want to start by thanking the partners who have been involved from the beginning, who've believed in the concept and committed to supporting the event. So that's the Sustainable Restaurant Association, Springboard, the Oxford Real Farming Conference, Soil Association, and Sustain. I want to say a special thank you to the Oxford Real Farming Conference, who have been willing to share their knowledge of how to organize a conference like this. Their conference, just to give you an idea, back in January had 5,000 people attending worldwide. So we're not quite at that level yet, but give us a few years and we'll get there. It's been fantastic to have their support and advice on how to do this well. In particular, I wanted to say thank you to Brittany and Martin, who have been supporting on the technical side of things and have been keeping me sane and organized for the last few weeks. Just moving on from the partners, I also wanted to thank all of the speakers. We have speakers and chairs. We have just under 70 involved in the conference over the next 2 days across 28 sessions. It's a huge effort from everyone, and I just like to thank all of those speakers for giving up time in their very busy schedules to join us today and share their knowledge and really contribute to making everyone's reopenings as best as possible. And then finally, not finally, sorry, we've got some wonderful volunteers today who have been supporting on the tech side of things, so that the speakers and chairs can concentrate on the content for you and make sure that the sessions run as smoothly as possible. So you can see Dave here is our wonderful volunteer for this session, and he's already been doing a fabulous job. And then I wanted also to say a massive thank you to all of the attendees who have joined us today, every one of you, for just coming, making this a lively event and being part of it all. And we're very much looking forward to hearing your contributions as well within the food web and during the sessions. About the conference, at this point, I'm just going to briefly share my screen. So 1 second. Hopefully you can all see that. Dave, could you just confirm? Brilliant. The conference will be covering 4 key themes: sustainability, resilience, people, and nutrition. You can find these in the food web and use them to kind of categorize your comments and posts. I'm sure that the sessions will raise more questions and spark discussions beyond what the hour will give you time for. So please do continue those discussions in the food web platform. That's what it's there for. And also on social media, you can see the hashtag Better Hospitality Conference there, as well as also the Twitter handles for us if you want to mention us, and we will get involved in your discussion. The membership of FoodWeb is free and is a community that we plan to continue and grow beyond the conference itself, and we hope it will be a nice supportive place for you to come to ask questions, to share any opportunities or knowledge or ideas, and to connect with each other. It's open to anyone in food and beverage and hospitality. At this point, I'd just like to mention, it says a lot for the farming community that they have been so supportive of this event. I think often chefs and farmers are so geographically distant. But I really hope this provides them with a platform to close that gap and to work more closely together. And then just finally, a bit of kind of housekeeping. The Better Hospitality Conference is a ticketed event, as you will know. It sits within the food web, and so any comments that you post within the Better Hospitality Conference will only be available to those who have tickets for the conference. You can tell where you are because it's green navigation if you're in the conference, and it's a purple navigation if you're in the wider food web. So anything you want to share with the wider community should be in the purple area, not in the green area. And finally, if you need help, there's a navigation video in the featured section of the activity feed for the conference, and you can also contact tech support at tridentsupply.com. Sorry, I realized I should have put that on the slide as well, but hopefully that's relatively straightforward. That's tech support at tridentsupply.com. So now I'm just going to hand over to Kate Nichols, who has worked absolutely tirelessly this year to support and represent the industry through what must be one of the most difficult years in its history. And I'm really delighted to have Kate here today to open the conference and just to share a few words of support and encouragement for all of you who are attending today. Oh, perfect. Thanks, David.
Well, thank you very much, Dominique, and thank you for that kind introduction. Really keen to be here with you today to support the Better Hospitality Conference. I think it's really important as we move forward into the roadmap for reopening, and we have some of our businesses that started to reopen over the last week, that people take the opportunity to use this as a reset after a year of great crisis and tumultuous events that have rocked so many in the industry. It is a real reset moment, not just across operators, but also our supply chain, the wider network in which we operate, high streets, town centres, urban renewal policy and government policy. So it's great to see so many people here today to take the opportunity to reset and to consider how they can reopen better, looking at sustainability, business resilience, innovation, better experience for their people, and looking at nutrition in menus as we go forward with the changes that are coming through in government policy. For those who don't know me, my name's Kate Nichols. I'm Chief Executive of UK Hospitality, which is the national trade body that represents and campaigns on behalf of hospitality businesses. Everything from a single site, independent pub, bar, restaurant, coffee shop, hotel, right the way through to the largest national chains. And our job is to be your voice at the heart of government to make sure that we get the support that the industry needs to survive, thrive and grow. What I'm going to do today, just in 10 minutes, give you a quick overview of where we are in terms of the sort of crisis, look at the Build Back Better strategy that the UK hospitality team put forward to government and are continuing to work through with government over the sort of first half of this year, and then just touch on what we look forward to going forward as to where the industry can move for recovery. So clearly, you don't need me to tell you that this year has been absolutely catastrophic for the industry, but I want to accentuate the positives. So I'm going to start with where we started last year at the beginning of 2020, because I think with the right support, with our Build Back Better strategy, with your help and engagement in making your businesses more resilient, that is the place that we can get back to, and that's the bright future that we can offer to the government about how we can be part of the solution. So at the beginning of 2020, hospitality was the fastest growing part of the economy. In fact, it was one of the few parts of the economy that was still in growth. We were a 130 billion revenue industry. That's bigger than automotive, pharmaceuticals and aerospace put together. And 39 billion pounds of that came from foreign tourist spend in the country, eating and drinking out, making tourism and hospitality our third largest export earner. In fact, foreign tourists spend more eating and drinking out in our UK pubs, bars, restaurants and hotels than all of our food and drink exports put together. And we are a literal showcase. We also employed 3.2 million people and a further 1.5 million in our supply chain. And unfortunately, we've seen that fall off. So from being 11% of employment, 7% of GDP, generating 1 in 6 of net new jobs and 5% growth rate, we have seen the industry emerge in 2021 at being just a third the size it was in 2020. So a huge mountain to climb to get back to those pre-COVID levels of growth, but I'm confident that together we can start to do it. And one of the things we did put to government at the beginning of this year was a Build Back Better strategy so that we could feed into the government's new business council that it adopted. And I'm pleased to say that for the first time, hospitality has a seat at that business council, has a seat in what is now the B7, the government's big group of business representative organisations where hospitality has never featured before. As a result of that pandemic, I've always wanted to try and see some optimism. We now have cemented hospitality's place as being a crucial part of UK PLC. So 3-point plan that we put to government that we are continuing to work through. First of all, a clear staged exit strategy to get our businesses reopen as quickly and as safely as possible, linked to the vaccine rollout, but with a clear commitment there would be no return to lockdown. We've already lost 12,000 businesses over the course of the last year. Almost 1 in 5 of our restaurants have closed and will not reopen. 10% of our hotels and 7% contraction in pubs. So we've already lost too many. We need to make sure that we can get the rest of them open as quickly as they can, so that they can start getting some revenue through the doors and can grow back. So we're looking at not just the date of reopening, but the conditions for reopening too. Hugely important that we have an easing of the restrictions. So over the course of the last week, we've seen 25% of hospitality businesses open outdoors. Now, 40% of the industry has outdoor space. That 25% figure for those reopening shows that this is a psychological reopening, a positive start, but it's not an economic one. For many of them, they simply can't make it work. It's not viable to even reopen. And for those who even are reopening, they're at best trading at 20 to 30% of their normal revenue levels, well below the break-even point. And we know from last summer that when we reopen indoor hospitality 17th of May, we are going to be facing the same problem. So effectively, the reopening date for hospitality is the 21st of June, which is when the government has pledged to end all social distancing restrictions. Until we get to that point, until we get social distancing restrictions lifted, the seated only, no standing at the bar, table service, capacity constraints, we won't break even. We didn't break even for more than 1 week last year. So it's really important that we get that message out to government that it's not just the date of reopening, but it's the conditions of reopening to give our businesses a fighting chance. The second point is about rebuilding. So we do the reopening, we started that process. We need help to rebuild. We need help to rebuild our shattered balance sheets. We need help to be able to tackle the level of indebtedness that those businesses that have survived the pandemic and are reopening will continue to struggle with over the course of the next 18 months. We've survived the black swan of COVID. That grey rhinoceros of debt will run alongside us for 18 months and could still knock people off course. It's really heartening to see that the latest stats suggest business confidence rising in the sector on the back of that reopening last week. 50% of our businesses now confident that they will be viable by the end of the year and will survive. However, 25% of them are not confident about surviving, and their confidence and ability to see ahead to a brighter future is until H1 of 2023. So a long time before we recover that COVID level of revenue and profitability. So we continue to push with the government on the budget asks. Really pleased that we got something in all 4 of our asks at the last budget: an extension of furlough, new grants, extension of the VAT cut, which needs to go longer and it needs to be made permanent, and business rates. And we're really pushing hard on the business rates piece, because if that roadmap slips, if we do have social distancing left at the 21st of June, our businesses need a bigger breathing space. They simply cannot afford to pay any form of business rates from the 1st of July. So that it continues to be an area that we work with government. And the final point on the rebuilding shattered balance sheets is to drive down that level of debt, and in particular to tackle rent debt. There's a call for evidence out on the 4th of May. That's a crucial date for as many people as possible to feed in as to the challenges that they've got. And then the final piece is around future recovery. How do we get back to that positive level of growth? How do we get back as quickly as possible to that pre-COVID revenue levels? It's about structural reform, there's business rates reform, landlord and tenant act, planning, licensing, all of those issues that we need to tackle, but also careers in the industry, apprenticeships, kickstart, job retention bonuses and job retention incentives that the government could work through with us, and also playing a role in helping to tackle the level of unemployment that we're going to see in many young people. 1.5 million 18 to 24-year-olds estimated to be unemployed this year. Hospitality delivers jobs growth, and career opportunities at all skill levels, at all parts of the country. And you're going to hear more from Greg about some of the good work that is being done to get more people into work and use hospitality as a career ladder to help people with those soft skills, those transferable skills that they need to recover, and how we can help save a lost COVID generation. So those are the key points that we're working through, trying to make sure that we can get as much of the industry open as quickly as possible, and then looking ahead to how we rebuild and build back better. And so that's why I was really keen to come along today at the start of the Better Hospitality Conference. We hope that the food web community, where everybody's going to be networking, and which Danny just mentioned, will continue to provide that support and a sense of community to the industry throughout the year. UK Hospitality also has a lot of resources on our website. We are a membership organisation. It's open to any of the operators to be able to join. We'll provide that insight, intelligence, as well as the campaigning and that peer-to-peer networking at a very local level, so that businesses can come back from this, rebuild resilience. And I think that's one of the key positives that I would take away from the COVID crisis. The industry has come together. It is one of the most collaborative industries. You don't realise that till you go and work in another one and see the businesses there still pushing away, still in competition. One of the things I've been hugely impressed about is the open-hearted nature of hospitality this year, the way we've pulled together to support each other through this terrible crisis, this terrible situation, reached out, provided help, advice and support, had that sort of sense of nobody left behind. And that's what made me incredibly proud over the last year to be representing such a generous-hearted, generous-spirited, resilient industry who, even in the depths of their own despair and the challenges that they have faced, have gone out of their way to help our NHS, to feed their local communities, to feed children in schools, and to reach out and show the best of our industry at all points. And that's shining through in the conference today. So thank you very much for inviting me here to be with you. And I look forward to hearing the other speakers. Back to you, Dominique.
Thank you very much, Kate. That was a wonderful summary, and great to hear all of those comments around the community aspect of the hospitality industry. I think it's such an incredible industry that I'm also very proud to be part of. I just want to hand over to Greg now, who is the founder of Only a Pavement Away, which is the charity that the Better Hospitality Conference has been supporting through tickets. So over to you, Greg.
Thanks, Dominique. I think it's important just to say at this stage that I'm not too sure what state our industry would have been in and the recovery would have been if it hadn't have been for the tireless work that Kate has done. I don't know how many days, how many hours she gets into a day at the moment, but she seems to be constantly lobbying and pushing MPs. So I think big thanks to Kate. And it seems a long time ago, Dominique, since you and I spoke about actually doing this and how you're going to get it off the ground. So all credit to you, and thank you for inviting me, and thank you for the support. So I've got 10 minutes to tell you about Only a Pavement Away. We are a hospitality charity where our aim is to be the charity that helps vulnerable people into careers in the hospitality industry. And we act as a conduit jobs board. Our jobs board is free to employers and free to charities. So employers put their vacancies on, the charities can see and they can put forward their candidates. There's also a candidate profile page that allows employers to see the members and the candidates from the charities that are available for work. There are some caveats. The candidates have to have national insurance number, bank account, access to some form of reputable accommodation, right to work, and the desire and attitude that they want to go into hospitality. And what it does is it takes forward-thinking employers and marrying them up with charities and organisations that represent vulnerable veterans. That's anybody who's left the military with physical or emotional issues, people coming out of prisons, and are looking to get back on, as I say, the straight and narrow, and people who have suffered or are facing homelessness. And to date, we have put 78 people into work since we kicked this off in October 2018, as what we just thought was going to be helping 2 people out of a doorway into work via a reputable charity, and I was going to go back to doing my consultancy. It grew and grew, and of the 78 people we put into work, 25 are still with us today. And those 78 people, for the time span they stayed with us and what it saves the government on looking after them, there was a return to the economy of 2.5 million. So what is it that helps the people go into work? Well, if you can imagine, if you come from any of the vulnerable categories that we represent, it's tough enough finding a job, but to go into an outlet and have to give your CV in, knowing either that it's going to be left on the back shelf, that someone's going to read it, and as you walk out, they're going to see that, oh, you were homeless, or that you're just going to fall behind everybody else, because who wants to employ someone that's vulnerable and has got a bit of history? What we found out, though, is that on those three categories, the one thing that stands out is a work ethic. If you've been homeless and you don't want to go back in a doorway and be mugged, or someone pee on you, or someone steal whatever food you've got, then you want to stay into work. If you come out of prison, you have a work ethic, because the harder you work in prison, the more perks you get. And if you come out of the military, you have that team environment and want to work with camaraderie. So we know of the 78 people that went into work, their lifespan was about 38 weeks. Of those 25 that are still with us, their lifespan is now up to 78 weeks on average, which is higher than industry norms. We've got someone at the Ivy Collection who's hit over 2 years. Excuse me, we've got someone at Gaucho's who's up to 18 months. Some of these have come out of prison, some are homeless. We've got a lady at Corbyn and King who's one of the only female concierges in London, and she came out of the military and was homeless, and she's been there coming up to a year now. So our target is to actually get, over the next 3 years, 700 people into work. And those 700 people will, by the time you've taken the 6 million they add to the economy through their paying rent, paying utilities, disposable income, that comes to 6 million. The saving they make to the economy by not having the government have to support them is 23 million. So every homeless person costs the government £20,000 a year. Every offender, every time they go back in prison, costs the government £48,000 a year. And a vulnerable veteran may cost between £45,000 and £50,000, depending on what it is. That's their issue. That 29 million will finance 250 nurses on a salary of £40,000 in full-time employment for the next 3 years. So we look at only a payment away from a commercial point of view. We are not do-gooders at all. We look and we make sure that we add a commercial benefit both to the company who takes them, to the economy, and to the individual. And there is nothing better than having a job. As we all know at the moment, we all know people who have lost their jobs. But what it gives the homeless people and the vulnerable people we deal with is a chance to get themselves back on track. And I would ask you 2 questions. How close have you ever become to turning left rather than turning right? Now, you might tell by my Cockney accent that I grew up in the East End of London. So I can tell you a lot of my old mates turned left, and I think served Her Majesty's pleasure. And the other question I'd ask you is, how many of us consider ourselves to be honest? And I posed this to my old regional directors at my last firm. And I said, do you all consider yourself to be honest? And they went, yes. So I said, right, okay, so if you all have a free half a lager a day, that's just a perk of the job. But if you do that for 365 days of the year, and you equated that into cash, and you took that cash out of the till, that would be fraud, and you'd be dismissed. So I think we have to look at ourselves and think, have we ever had a perk that wasn't a perk? You know, I'll say to you now, my mum and dad were teachers. At the end of every summer term, my dad came home with scrapbooks and pencils and rulers. Was that a perk? Or should he have been them the way the borough told him to? Now, he didn't defraud anybody. He wasn't a thief. He saw that as a perk and he brought them home for his 3 kids. But is it a perk? If he'd have taken that in cash, he'd have been dismissed. So we have to look at some of these people, the homeless man who stole a sandwich and a bottle of water out of a small supermarket. The police were called. He was arrested. He couldn't pay the bill, the court fine. It came to £300 with costs. So for £1.45, he had to fine £300. He couldn't find £300, so he committed burglary. He got caught committing burglary, and for £1.45 sandwich, he ended up doing 18 months in prison. So it's when you boil it down like that, that not everyone that we look at has got heinous crimes. We try to help those people who have just fallen by the wayside, or those people who have become homeless. And if you look at our website, we've got the guy who said, people notice us, but they don't see us. He was a hedge fund manager who fell into alcoholism. And when I met him, he said, you will never stop me being an alcoholic. But up to the age of 23, I was a very successful hedge fund manager and in private equity, but I got hooked on drugs and alcohol. So if you look at him, he wasn't born an addict. He actually had a very lucrative job and lived in a very palatial house. And he told us he was very open about it all. But he said, you know, if you look at homelessness, it is society's norm. So what we want to do is we want to help those people. And during the pandemic, we decided we were going to stand side by side with the homeless charities. So between March 2020 and March this year, we facilitated the donation of £1 million worth of food, drink and clothing to homeless charities and food banks across London, Birmingham and Manchester. And that came under the banner of Hospitality Against Homelessness. So we've done that. We will always remain the jobs board, the conduit to help vulnerable people get into work. But coming up in the future, we're going to go into prisons, and we've got a number of employers who are going to support us, and we're going to sponsor a prison kitchen where they will fit it out and teach people how to go into hospitality. We've got our campaigns, Fill a Flask, Winter Warmth, where we take out flasks filled with chilled water in the summer. We take out clothing in the winter. We've got Serve Our Soup coming up, where we're going to ask all industry outlets if they will serve a soup of their choice and donate a small amount of money to us. We're going to announce this Friday a new group of trustees to add to our existing ones who are very high profile and will help us reach areas that we haven't been able to get into. And like I say, we are looking now to get 250 people, vulnerable people, into work over the next year. The interesting thing as well is that we've got 5,000 people follow us on social media. We want that to increase greatly. But if 20% of that 5,000 people all donated £52 a year through direct debit, that would be £52,000 we'd have, just by 20%, giving £1 a week. That £52,000 will help pay 52 people's rent deposit and support them back into work. And so that's what we're about. We need people to follow us on social media. We need people just to link into our promotions. And we know everybody's being asked to donate. But just think, for £1 a week, if a number of people do that, then that will help 52 people get into housing, which they have terrible problems doing at the moment because the rents are surging again. So we want to do that. We're going to go out and crowdfund in July to help people get on board. And really, when you look at it, no one else does what we do. There is no other jobs board conduit that offers financial and emotional support once people have been placed into work. We have 2 relationship managers who work closely with the charities, closely with the employees, and closely with the individuals. So we protect all 3 components of the part. And we know that the jobs are out there because employers are coming to us now, and as Kate said, they're saying to us, we're having trouble getting open. But can you imagine if you're a vulnerable person, you have no chance of being in that queue to apply for that job or just handing your CV in at the counter. So what they do is, A, they get a leg up through going through our jobs board and getting into our employers, and that when they're being interviewed, they don't have to lie about what their past was. They don't have to say between 2014 and 2016, I left Iraq with anxiety, because the reaction is you got PTSD. I came out of prison after 2 years in prison. God, you've done some heinous crime. Or I was homeless. You're going to turn up on Monday with a sleeping bag, bottle of gin, and you're going to need a wash. that doesn't happen because they're then seen as reputable people who have been prepared for work by their charity and by doing the training on their jobs board. And thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Greg. It was fantastic to hear that as an overview of what you do. I think it's such an incredible charity and so worthwhile. And I'm really pleased that we have been able to support you through the conference. We're just a little bit over time, so I'm just going to say thank you very much for everyone joining and to welcome you to the rest of the conference. So I hope you enjoy it. See you in some of the other sessions later over the next couple of days.
Thanks, Dominique.
Thanks, Greg.